Steven, you know what's supposed to come at 3 o'clock? My books. Do you know what time it is? Do you know what's not coming today? My books.
I'm there waiting at the warehouse. I'm told 3 o'clock delivery. 3:45 comes along, and there's no there's not going to be a delivery yesterday. And today we're waiting on a delivery, but they don't have a driver yet who has a vehicle capable of taking 10,000 pounds of books with a lift gate to the warehouse.
And weren't they saying something like, if you can't do it today, we have to charge you if we do it tomorrow or something?
Well, no, they were like, it must be delivered today.
Must be.
Or there will
else.
be a holding fee. And I'm like, yeah, it's funny because you guys are just notifying me today that you need to get it out today because it's the last day that it can sit there in your warehouse. Well, one, I'm unaware that it's been sitting in your warehouse. Why haven't you made a call to set up a time to deliver it? Today I was told that it might take 72 hours to find a specific driver. And I'm like, well, why didn't you start that process sooner? And then, you know what? I'm like, whatever. Fucking, it is what it is. Like, find a fucking driver, but I'm leaving at a certain point today and I need the product. But then what happens is they get a driver. The driver's not going to want to drive it back to the facility if I'm not there, and they're just going to fucking leave it on a sidewalk. I mean, that's just how it is.
For context, this is the book 2 delivery, by the way.
Yes, for context, book 2 delivery. It's been
a giant delivery is what I'm saying.
It is a giant delivery. It's more than last time. Last time was like 7 pallets. We're at 11 pallets this time because
11?
It's 2,000 books instead of 1,250. And, you know, it's a process to get something from Italy to here and then to deal with all of the bullshit that was happening at the ports. And then then there was a mismatch of how many pieces, and then they had to go, and they're like asking me questions. I'm like, first off, I have nothing to do with it. It's the shipper, and the shipper is handling that. And it was a Friday, and they were already gone in Italy, so they had to wait till Monday. And so they got it situated. It cleared customs. Now it's sitting at the facility 6 miles from me, waiting to be picked up.
I feel like you didn't have any of these issues before. It was just kind of like delivered, and that was it. Unless I didn't hear about them.
I don't know. A lot has changed. They used a different shipper last time that is no longer in business.
Oh, okay.
Like, things changed. So then they were like, they found a shipper that was twice as much money. Then they found one that was less money. And then they found one that was in the middle. It's just like, wait a second. How do we have such a discrepancy in delivery?
Just made up prices.
Basically, you know, and so then you had to deal with all that other bullshit.
And also, we don't do in-home delivery, even though we're just going to move the pallet like 5 feet into your warehouse.
Well, what they're like, it's curbside delivery. I'm like, yeah, no, I get that, but you can't put 11.
But there's not enough space on the curb.
You can't put 11 pallets on the curb. If it's already on a pallet jack and it comes off of the thing, I'll roll it the fuck in.
Sure.
And a friend dropped me a pallet jack that has a bunch. Dropped me one, so now I have one, and they will have one. I will have one. Well, guess what? We can. I can drag it into my warehouse and you can get started on the next pallet jack.
Do you have like a motorized pallet jack?
No, I'm told that you don't really need the motorized one.
You don't think like bringing up your ramp, you're going to need help?
It's not a steep ramp.
But still, that's a lot of weight you're kind of dragging.
The problem was no one had the ability to have one of those powered jacks.
All I'm saying is I think you might need some help, like an extra set of hands pushing it up. That's all.
Well, yesterday at 3 o'clock, I had 2 other people there in the warehouse that were going to help.
Oh, okay.
That were finishing doing work on the lighting, and they were going to help, but, you know, no go because it didn't get delivered. So anyway, still waiting on that. I mean, I'm not looking forward to everything getting delivered because then a lot more work starts for me again, where I've got to literally unwrap every book that I need to sign. So everyone that got sold is getting signed. So I have to take them out of the wrapping, sign them. Then we have to put in the packs of cards. And I say we, I don't, it's fucking me, packs of cards. And then the extra rewards. And then I have to seal the boxes.
Luckily, you already did all of the packs of cards. So that's kind of all done. You just throw them in there and done.
Yeah.
That took weeks, I feel like. Printing and...
No, printing was real. It only took me a couple days to print, but then I probably still need to print the other rewards for the total packages and the people that got the prints and stuff. I just need to know exactly how many I need, and then I can just run them off the printer and then sign them, and that's not a problem. I just have to sit down and look at the numbers from Kickstarter to see exactly what I need to do. There's just a lot. And I know people are like, well, why don't you hire someone? It's like, well, you know, when you hire
easy.
someone,
Yeah.
well, you need to train them on what to do. I've done all the packaging. I could have help, and I probably can find someone to come in and do menial tasks with me, which is fine.
You could do assembly line, something like that. But at the same time, you still have to personally sign every single book. So why not just package it at the same time? But again, if you had like 2 people helping out, you just sign it, throw it to the next person, sign it, next person,
Yeah, it would be helpful to do that, to be able to have a person. I might see if someone is able to help me and then be like, here's how we're packing them, or here's what I need. And I just need to coordinate it where like, here's book only. Here is total package. And here are, the options. And that way I know I need 250 of these. I need 300 of these. I need 200 of those, right? That way it's organized.
You're going to micromanage the shit out of those people.
No, but then I need to figure out the shipping software part of it, because you have to integrate, you have to be able to take the information that Kickstarter gives you for the rewards and then get it uploaded into the system. And then I have to do foreign shipping, there's overseas shipments, and then you just don't want to fuck it up.
Yeah.
So there's a whole process that's not easy. Like, no, this shit isn't easy. Business isn't easy. People don't get that. And we take Amazon for granted. The fact that you can order your fucking dildos and lube and condoms from Amazon and
daily,
they literally show up in a package 24 hours or less later. Like, people say, they're like, well, why didn't you just, for the European packages, have books delivered from Europe already? I was like, yeah, the logistics on saying, guys, I need 100 books sent here, and then I can't sign them. Well, I'm not going to fly there and sign them, and then they have to get the rewards. It's just not possible. Anything's possible with enough money. It's just, I'm not doing the logistics. I'm a photographer who runs this business. Small business. This is what we do.
Yeah.
This is why we sell digital products, because selling 600 or 700 books is a lot different than selling 1,000 digital products where you don't lift a finger after you create it. I mean, you do lift a finger. You still have to do work, like create content to support it. But then having it automatically send digitally is awesome. So
it really is.
Anyway, watch me get a phone call in 5 minutes being like, it's on the way.
That's what we're nervous about. Yeah, we hope that we don't get a phone call in the middle of this show, because you will be running out the door. And it might happen, but I doubt
I don't think it's going to happen. They're going to they have to find a driver. The driver then has to come and get the books. They have to load up 11 pallets onto their thing, and then they have to drive it to here and then park in the middle of the street.
They did the whole, be home all day. It's going to be from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. delivery, so make sure you're there.
What pisses me off yesterday, she's
give me
like,
a 2-hour window, guys.
She's like, she's like, does between 8 and 3 work? I'm like, no. And then I want to be like, well, if you don't have a driver yet, just tell me when you have a fucking driver. I already told you when I can be there, and I can be there in 5 minutes because I'm around the corner.
Yeah.
But I will not be sitting there from 8 to 3, and you don't even have a driver yet, only to find out by the end of you didn't tell me it takes 72 hours. So why won't you just tell me the fucking shit up front? Anyway, Steven, welcome to episode 151.
Welcome
to 151.
Woosa.
Fuck that. Woosa. What is that? Some Ben Stiller shit?
No, it's Bad Boys.
Oh,
we've said this before, where they're freaking out, and he's like, "Just got a woosa." My therapist says, "Woosa."
Therapists are bullshit.
Someone you need. What?
No, I don't need a therapist.
Huh?
I don't need the rapist.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I don't need do you go to a therapist, Steven?
I don't think I need one.
Oh, you don't think you need one? You need one if you think you don't need one.
Do I have angry rants every single day about every little thing?
Steven, my angry rants aren't true anger. I've checked my heart rate. The heart rate is only like 3 beats higher than my normal heart rate. I say that on the on Daily Fro, which you don't listen to, that my heart rate's at 67 right now. Do I sound angry to you for my heart rate to be at 67?
You're not flipping out right now.
Steven, I was just yelling.
That wasn't Jared yelling.
There is no Jared yelling. Jared doesn't yell.
Okay.
That's
Jared
the same thing.
Passionately speaks.
I do passionately speak, but it's not
the gaslighting.
It's not gaslighting. Fuck that shit. It's not gaslighting.
Okay.
I'm telling you that I don't get to an anger point. Even talking loud now, 66. My heart rate just went down. So I can talk passionately. It's like saying that anytime you speak to a woman and and you're explaining something, all of a sudden you're mansplaining. I'm like, wait a second. I'm explaining this in a way that anybody could understand it, whether it's a man, woman, child, and I take it into consideration what your skill set is. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I'm going to explain something the same way.
Sometimes though, you break down things that are such common sense. It's like, Jared, I understand. You're making it sound like I don't get what you're saying, but it's basic common sense, and you're breaking it down, making it sound like I'm an idiot and I don't know what you're talking about. That I could see coming across as mansplaining.
You want to know why? Oh, but to you, it's mansplaining?
No, I'm saying if I was the woman.
Yeah, but I'd say the same thing to you.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying they're misinterpreting that, but I could see them thinking that for sure.
Let me just tell you this. When I went and saw a therapist once, didn't like the guy. He tried to sleep with me like 7 times.
Oh, hey.
The only thing I took out of that, other than his... the only thing I actually took out of it was this thing called subjective reality, meaning... subjective reality is I say something and I expect someone to understand what I meant, what my brain meant, and what I think it means. And that's why I explain things differently, is because I don't want there to be confusion, because it's happened my entire life where I've said something and I'm like, oh, I think it means this, and they interpret it as something else, and then I get upset. So I try to make sure there's no upsettedness.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're trying to do. It's just sometimes it comes across as like condescending or patronizing or whatever. I could see that.
But it's not.
Again, I know what you're trying to get at, but it could come across like that.
Yeah, well, stop being so sensitive, women and men.
Oh, man.
And Subaru drivers, and the one guy who commented that doesn't like our homophobic rants, which we do not have homophobic rants. Stop being so soft. Anyway, this week I asked you guys for questions over on the text line. We got a lot of great questions. We got a ton of replies, which is great. And if you're not on the there's a lot, so we might have to put it onto other shows. But if you're not on the text line, it's 313-710-9729. You can send us. That's the first time I've sent a message in since the book was announced.
I've always said it. I think you rarely use the text line like you should. I mean, I think you actually should send more texts, like more important videos, like something like the R5 Mark II review that we recently released, or the R1 review, like bigger videos that we spend a lot of time on, I think deserves a text.
I do that with the email list. I don't need to do that with the text as well.
Text line is way different than an email list.
There's only 2,400 people on the text line. It's not going to move the needle.
No, but I do think they are the diehard fans.
True. Yeah, I just don't want to overdo it. You know me. I rather underdo than overdo, because you know how many the other photographers that send constant emails begging and doing dumb shit.
I recently bought something. What did I buy? I bought
vibrator.
Yes, that's it. No, I bought protective eyeglasses for lawn care because my other ones broke. And the company I bought a new pair from, it did the whole text thing, get 10% off if you use your number. I did it. And now I get constant texts. I eventually hit stop, but I'm like, oh my God, it's every 3 hours they're texting. Guys, I'm never going to recommend your company ever because of the amount of spam you're sending me. I know we've just recently talked about this, but I just wanted to get that off my chest while we're on that subject.
Yeah, I fully agree.
I just feel bad because I know you do pay a decent premium to use that text line and you really don't use it.
Yeah, I don't. It's too expensive for what it is, to be honest.
It's more a feedback comment line directly to the fans and listeners and viewers.
No, I mean, I guess I could interact more. It's just there's so many. Anyway, let's get to the questions because we have a lot, and I'd rather answer those and spend the time doing that.
Sure.
But we pick and choose what comes in. When I ask for questions, I actually ask for comments too, like how has watching my videos done something or changed your life or whatever. Then those are nice to read too, because we don't always hear that. We hear a lot of the negative stuff, which is, what you generally hear. But we also got a bunch of questions and didn't want just gear stuff, which is good. We didn't get a lot of those. We got a lot of solid questions. So I'm going to start reading them and then we'll answer them. How's that sound, Steven?
Sounds good.
Mike Frankfurt, something funny. I saw a Subaru Baja on my way home from work while listening to RAWtalk and immediately thought, I wonder if that is Dan.
Clearly, Jared picked these, by the way. The most important comment. Let's list that first.
That's
funny, though. He listens.
Oh, yeah. Well, Dan, he listens. Dan doesn't listen.
No.
Because his Subaru Baja doesn't even have Bluetooth, or it probably has a cassette deck.
Yeah. He's probably rocking the cassette Bluetooth like converter.
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you remember the cassette thing?
I used to use one.
But before that, I had a cassette with a wire on it, and it would plug into my MP3 CD player.
Yep.
That goes into the. Oh, am I explaining it again? Like am I mansplaining to you, Steven?
I think you're fine.
But if I was telling a woman that, she'd be like, "Why are you mansplaining?" I'm like, I'm just explaining how it worked. You put the cassette in, and then the center of the cassette that used to read the tape would like touch something in the back of the cassette deck, which was where the sound came from. And that would transmit the fucking thing to the car. That was amazing.
It is pretty remarkable what they could do with all that technology back then. I eventually got the radio one where you would have to tune to the certain radio station, and then when you would get in an area where they actually used that frequency for a real radio station, you were kind of fighting it, trying to play your music while they're trying to stream their music over the airwaves.
It was Spanish. It was always had to be
it was
Spanish.
always some random like Hispanic station.
Fuego. Mi chochacho.
Rumba 107.9.
Mexico 107.5. MXO.
I don't think it sounded like that.
Oh. Puerto Rico. Ay, papi, let's go get the tacos. Oh, shit. There we go. We're going to offend somebody again.
Definitely.
How come we can do that, but we can't do the Chinese voice?
How's that sound?
I can't do that, Steven.
Welcome to Shitty Walk.
Hey, Steven.
Whoa, hey.
Moving on.
Cross the
Moving
line.
on. Zach Delgado. How do you feel about Evan Vucci's iconic Trump photo getting snubbed for the Pulitzer? Everyone knows that should have won.
Did it really?
Well, it didn't win for like I don't know that there was an individual photo, but you had the New York Times' coverage with Doug Mills winning with a very similar photo of Trump pumping his fist, right? Different, right?
Is Doug the one that took the bullet photo?
Yes.
Okay.
So they won for coverage, a series of images of an event. And I did see someone ask, and I don't know if I picked this question. I did pick this question. It's the next question, and it ties in with this. Bob Jenkins asked, potential question. Doug Mills used a 24 millimeter on an A1 in the crop mode for his Pulitzer photos. What are your thoughts on crop mode since it's not cropping after the fact? It's the same as cropping after the fact, except for the fact that if you overdo it, because they're not shooting raw, then you're locked into what that crop is.
And he's transmitting JPEGs immediately after the event or even while they're doing the event. So I think they have to kind of crop in camera.
Yeah, but I'm listening back to the quote in my head of what Doug did say. He said that he sent over all the photos from basically what happened is he sent the photos in and his editor called and was like, we think you have something in this photo. We think it might be the bullet going by.
Wow.
Right? And they only had the JPEGs that he transmitted. And he said, I want to check the raw files to make sure that it's not some mistake or some artifact by accident. But he couldn't check the raw files because it was an active crime scene and he couldn't get to his computer until they cleared it. But by the time when he did get to his computer and he did look at the raw files, he could verify that it was the bullet. That all came back to my brain. Wow, is that like photographic memory or what? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I do think you have somewhat of a photographic memory. You're very good at remembering very particular details.
Or forgetting other shit, too.
But yeah.
It's weird. So I don't know. I don't know how the Pulitzer Prizes are picked. I thought the Evan Vucci photo was the photo.
Same.
I just did. Even though Doug
was right next to him.
Yeah, Doug had something similar. And Doug also had that whizzing by, whatever vapor trail.
Did that photo win?
Well, it won as a grouping.
Okay, got it.
It won for news coverage, so a series of images of a newsworthy event.
So it maybe because Doug had two images where Evan Moore
well, it
only
wasn't
had
two. It was
one.
It was like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was like
no, I mean those two though were the big ones: the bullet whizzing by, and then the one of him with the fist in the air. In my opinion.
Yeah, I guess. But there's a bunch more. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to be like he should have won or he shouldn't have won. But in terms of using the crop mode, I'm not a fan of the crop mode in the camera. I just don't see it. Like if you're going to crop it after the fact so you have everything. But being that he shoots raw, even if it was in crop mode, he can still undo the crop mode because he shoots raw.
I also thought that was a thing, and it's a thing for certain crop modes, I guess you can say, like certain aspect ratios. So I know in Canon, for example, you have the different overlays where you can adjust your aspect ratio to like 1:1, like a square, or do 16:9. So it shows you the black overlay, and then you can undo that in post in Lightroom and uncrop it essentially and give you the full RAW file. Well, with the actual 1.6x crop mode in Canon, at least, it actually burns in that crop, and you can't undo it. And I believe Nikon is the same way, because I know recently we did the Nikon Z6 III user guide, and we said that you can undo it in post, and a lot of people said you can't. I went back and checked the Z6 III. It's true. The other aspect ratio modes you can undo, but not the crop mode. It actually does burn in the RAW file, which is very odd. I don't think Canon used to always do that until they actually implemented that 1.6x crop mode. Now, Sony, I'm not 100% sure, but I assume it works the same way as the others.
That's just weird. It just shows you I don't use the crop modes.
I don't either. I have used the aspect ratio modes because I knew that they always uncropped after the fact, so it didn't really matter, just to get my framing. But that was for very limited thing, like a photo booth or something like that at a party. I really never used those specific modes. Now, I assume, is he doing like with the 24 mil? He's not always shooting in crop mode. He's just, I guess, pushing in and out with like a button, like a preset button.
I think he banged into 24. He liked the 24, and he just left it in crop mode while the action was happening.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I would do, but I guess in the news world, they feel confident with their ability to just bang in and do it. Since he had a prime lens on, that's what he did.
I still debate if I would have a prime and crop in like that, or if I'd rather have just a fast zoom. You know, I know it's a 2.8 versus 1.4, but does it matter?
I don't know. I don't know why he chose prime over a 24-70 or whatever. I know he had 70-200, and I know these guys work in a fast-paced environment. I mean, I'd probably have a 28-70 f2 at this point, and a 50-150 would be like the killer combination. And then something, you know, and then they usually have a third body, and you have like a 14-24 or 24 to a 12-24 on there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those guys move fast.
They do, yeah, move really, really fast.
Brandon Martin, this one's more for Steven. I love how the YouTube channel runs on the Canon R5. I'm curious to know what your video workflow is. 1, shoot and log. 2, wait, is this your workflow or is that the question?
I think he's saying, do you shoot and log? 2, what's your color grade and LUT workflow? And 3, what's your export codecs to YouTube uploading?
I leave it to you.
So number 1, do we shoot and log? Yes and no. We shoot both C-Log 3 and 2 if we're shooting with the new R5 II, but mainly C-Log 3 currently with all the R5s on sets. And then we use a neutral picture style on certain sets. So C-Log 3, we shoot Jared's desk set with. We shoot the comparison set also in C-Log 3, and we shoot that scripted sit-down set that you see with the R5 Mark II and the R1 real-world reviews that we just put out. Those are all C-Log 3, all shot and log, and then we use the neutral picture style on our store set, fix, user guide set. In terms of color grading and LUT workflow, we just use Premiere Pro here. I use Lumetri Color. I usually use Canon's C-Log 3 conversion LUT, their base conversion LUT. And then I usually use vector scopes from there to try and perfect my color. Now, the hard part about coloring Jared is like his desk set, for example, the color is constantly changing because of his screen. So depending on what picture he has and how bright his screen is, it might really affect the color on his face. So there's sometimes I have to go in there and really adjust my normal preset setting for that set. So that's always kind of tough. And then in terms of export codecs, it's just the same across the board. Standard 4K 24p H.264, like 65 megabits per second, VBR one pass in Media Encoder. And then I usually do a bulk export if we're doing lots of videos at once. But nothing crazy about the export settings and nothing really crazy about our setup. But yeah, we do shoot log and regular picture style depending on which set we're using. Personally, my favorite set that we shoot on is the comparison set. So if you look back recently, we did a video about the best Sony telephoto super zoom lenses to get on Sony E-mount. That video was shot on our comparison set, and we shoot C-Log 3 on that. And I think the lighting, color, everything on that set just looks great. Fixed set just looks like shit, in my opinion. We've never really fixed that. One day we'll get to that and really spruce it up.
Yeah.
But that is our workflow. We plan on changing everything to the R5 Mark II in the near future and pretty much shooting C-Log 2 exclusively, I'd say. But C-Log 3 sucks to grade. I hate grading it. I think it's really tough. C-Log 2, on the other hand, slap their base conversion LUT and it looks great. It's just like S-Log 3.
Cool. Kevin Cummings made a comment. I think this was based off of something I said recently. He goes, "Camera store guy here. You mentioned girls throwing away negatives on let's be not sexist here. Guys and girls and others." I think that this is based off of what I said about those girls on the street last week, throwing away their necks. Camera store guy here. You mentioned girls throwing away negatives on your podcast. We process 50 to 60 rolls a week. Most are college girls with disposable cameras. When we ask if they want their film back, most don't know what film is. Many argue with us that they only want the scans. They don't want to pay to have the film developed.
What's film?
Well, yeah, imagine that. You're like, yeah, the development and processing of your negatives cost this, and then the scans are this. Oh, I only want the scans. So what they should do is just scan a fucking undeveloped roll of film and be like, well, you just said you wanted
black
scans.
frames.
Yeah, they're like, well, why didn't it turn out? Oh, you just asked me to scan the negatives, so they weren't processed. You didn't want to pay for processing.
Was this a Daily Fro conversation or RAWtalk? I don't remember.
It was about the BF when I photographed those girls on the street. And I was telling the story about how they like to take the disposable cameras, but they don't ever get their negatives back.
Yeah.
I mean, you worked in the lab.
Yeah, so this is going back 15, 20 years ago when CDs were still a thing. We used both a Noritsu and a KISS machine.
Noritsu!
And Graytag back in the day, but Graytag couldn't do like anything besides actually print the photos. The Noritsu could do almost anything. I could put scans onto flash drive, onto a CD, onto, I think it's still a floppy disk at the time. But a lot of people wanted kind of the same thing, like everything onto the CD, and I could do bulk rolls too onto a single CD, and then just throw away the negatives or just keep the negatives. I would still always give them the negatives, but I'm sure the second they got home, they would just throw them out. But I didn't want that responsibility of throwing away the actual raw negatives just in case they wanted to come back or something got messed up on the CD or something like that. But yeah, we had a lot of people that just wanted the digitized images. I mean, then also film was really dying and no one cared about it and they just wanted everything to be uploaded. I don't think Facebook was even around then, but yeah, I could see that still being a thing for sure because they're shooting it on film, but we're posting it on Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, what are they going to do with their negatives anyway?
Nothing. But it's not even what, then just shoot digital. That's the point.
Oh, I agree.
You're shooting a disposable camera because you think you're cool, but you're not doing anything. Like, you're not doing anything special. Shoot it digitally.
So, yeah, I mean, the disposable camera is the new thing. Also, like weddings, I know a lot of people came in when that was like the big trend of like giving every table a disposable camera and they drop off like 30 or 40 at once. That, by the way, sucked because they would think that they could get all of those cameras back in 1 hour because it was 1 hour photo. I'm like, guys, no. That's per roll. We say 1 hour, not for 40 rolls. Like, you will get this back tomorrow or the next day.
Which is still fast for 40 rolls.
Very fast. I could do probably, 6 to 10 maybe rolls an hour in terms of putting them through the actual film processor.
Yeah. I opened 59-minute photo service once.
59 minutes.
Everything was 1 hour photo. I was like, 59-minute photo, bitches.
I think the fastest I could do an entire roll start to finish from processing the film to printing the pictures or putting them
18 minutes.
Yeah, it was about 20 minutes, give or take.
Yeah, because it has to go through the soup, as they say. And the soup has to be a specific time based off of the temperature. It is what it is. You can't rush it.
The worst was when the film would get stuck inside the film processor and we had a hand crank. That was if like the person loaded it wrong on the leader card or something like that, or the film was just really kind of
sideways.
Yeah, if it wasn't perfectly flat, it would get stuck easy as it went through the machine, and you had to hand crank it like at a certain pace to make sure it's still developed properly.
5 turns a minute or 8 turns a minute.
Can't recall what it was. I'm pretty sure I had some kind of sheet on the wall that explained the settings, the timing.
All right, moving on. Christopher Dean, talk more about when you do your printing on Canon printers, and do you do anything extra to preserve the photos like spray coating? I don't do any coating of the prints at all. When they come out of the printer, they are dry already from the ink. I use good paper. I use the Palo Duro soft gloss rag from a company called Red River Paper, and I really like their paper over Canon's paper. It just has a nice thickness, a nice feel, and I love the tones and colors I get, whether it's black and white or color. There's not a lot of process that goes through it because Canon has the Canon Connect Canon software for printing your prints, and it literally does it right from the raw files. So everything is very close from my monitor to my printer. The only thing I ever find myself needing to do, because you have to remember, a print doesn't have light behind it, but a screen has light. Exactly. The screen is backlit. I might need to brighten the print by 0.15 of an exposure or 0.2 maybe to make sure that it's not too dark when I print it.
I've always done roughly a quarter of a stop when I'm printing usually. By the way, real quick, adding to the printing conversation, we did do a video called Don't Make This Major Mistake When Printing Photos about a year or two ago. And that's where you broke down every single type of paper that's on the market, like in terms of luster or matte finish or whatever. And I watched that back just the other day because I had to grab printing footage of you at the Canon printer. I think it was for the R5 II review. And it's a really solid video. You kind of go through all the different paper types and explain why you chose this specific paper type, and you can really see the difference on screen watching back. I remember when we filmed that, I'm like, I don't know if you're going to be able to really tell like the differences between the paper types, but you can.
Yeah.
So watch that video if you're not sure on what type of paper to choose.
Yeah, but no spray coating. That's not a thing that needs to be done, in my opinion. All right, Troy Williams. I'm seeing more and more LED light at events, and this is leading to more and more banding issues on photos. What's the best way to adjust for this with new mirrorless Z6 III and older DSLRs, especially in situations where there's more than one source of LED? Well, with DSLRs, you shouldn't have as much of a problem with the LED lights, I believe, with DSLRs.
Shoot mechanical.
Well, here you're with the mechanical shutter, so it shouldn't be as bad. The thing that we do with the digital cameras, the mirrorless cameras today, is you have the variable shutter speed, which you can actually point the camera. For some of them, it tells you, point it at the light, hold it, hit this button, and it gives you the shutter speed to match the flicker. Now, that's great if you have one light that's flickering at that, but there's generally other lights that are flickering at different hertz, and so it's all over the place. You just have to find a happy medium to do it, and that's how you deal with it. Some venues, like the Fillmore, is very difficult to photograph at in Philly because they have all LEDs at this point. I just wish you have a main spotlight, like when I do Jane's Addiction stuff, or did Jane's Addiction stuff, they had spotlights on the main people and other lights in the background, and different colors flicker differently.
Yeah, it's tough when you have different frequencies, like concerts, like you're saying, it's almost impossible to not get any flickering in your photos. The only camera that will stop this would be the A9 III with the global shutter, but you might run into, well, you're going to have a complete black frame or a complete white frame, depending on your source and the flickering, but they still do have the anti-flicker mode, which will then basically not shoot the photo when it's completely dark. So you should have consistent, no banding photos in an A9 III as long as you're only shooting one source and not 7 different frequencies. Yeah, A9 III would be the way to go, but it's also not a cheap camera.
No, you just have to deal with it. Another way to deal with it, slower shutter speed. The faster the shutter speed, the more prevalent the flicker is. And if you're at like 1/125th or 1/250th, there's less chance of that flicker. It's just weird. But also, if your guys are running around stage or girls are running around stage, it then makes that a little harder. So it's a dance.
Typically around that 120 hertz is around that shutter speed you want to be at to match it. But it's still not easy to, especially when you're doing like slow motion video. That's when it's really tough if you don't have the right shutter speed dialed in, because you're going to get all this weird pulsing and banding throughout your footage when you slow it down.
Joseph Marino. This question is for Steven. Being that it's springtime, I would love to know the process for getting his lawn nice and green and prime for mowing.
Do you want the long answer or short
answer? No, we do not want the long answer. This isn't grass talk.
Well, I mean, I can give you a summary, which is a little bit long-winded, but so what people don't realize is that most of the prep actually starts in the fall and not so much in the spring, but because everything starts growing in the spring, they assume that's the time to really start working on your lawn, but really it's the fall time, whether you're overseeding or something like that. So I put down typically a fall pre-emergent to stop winter weeds, which helps out in the springtime to not have any weeds going into that next season. I also put down a winterizer with high nitrogen right when the lawn is about to go to sleep, and that helps it wake up in early spring and really just kickstart it from there. Now, if I don't put down a winterizer, then I'll put down fertilizer in early spring, right around late March, around here in the Northeast. And I use like a 2705 fertilizer. It's high in nitrogen, both AMS, urea. It's got like a kick of potassium.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Anyway, it's got sulfur in it. It's got all this good stuff in it. I put that down early spring if I didn't put down a winterizer. And then I put down a pre-emergent. That is key. Basically prevents weeds. It's mainly crabgrass around this area. And I use prodiamine. It's a WDG. It's a wettable, dispersible granular. It dissolves into liquid. I spray it, blah, blah. Anyway, and throw some extra goodies in there like humic acids, stuff like that. And then I'll kill off any winter weeds that the pre-emergent didn't stop. And I'll use like quinclorac, T-zone. It's a common 4-way herbicide. Make a little cocktail, spray that either broad.
Sorry you asked? Are you sorry you asked, Joseph? Because who fucking cares?
I'll basically kill the weeds, and then I'll just do tune-ups on the mowers, sharpen blades, all that kind of stuff. And then it's just basic mowing. But really pre-emergent fertilizer and then some weed killer, and you're good to go for the season for the most part. But again, fall is key. That's where you really start most of the process for the next season. Sorry about the long answer. I could have went on way longer, but
oh my God, Steven will have a whole episode on. Steven should just do a whole episode and put it up.
Sharpen your mower blades. That is key.
But not while it's on.
No, not while it's on. Make sure you disconnect the spark plug before you remove them.
How are you going to protect your fertilizer shed from your daughter?
It's locked, and only I have the key, so there's really no way she can get in there. And all of the chemicals are on a shelf high up, so there's really no way she can get in there. And I make sure she's not even outside when I'm mowing the lawn, just in case I'm like backing up. I have a riding mower and a push mower, and if I'm using the riding mower, she does not come outside.
Got it. Moving on, because I don't care anymore. Alec Polianis. What would it take you to switch off of Canon's system at this point? You mentioned the 50 to 150 made it tempting, but it wasn't enough. A big leap in autofocus, more unique lenses. It's not even we're there at autofocus, at least for Nikon and Canon.
And we're there
Canon
with
and Sony.
More unique lenses, I'd say.
And we have a lot of unique lenses.
Yeah.
You don't go jumping ship anymore at all. I mean, you really don't jump ship. The reason, so Canon people jump ship. There's been times where Canon people have jumped to Nikon and Nikon has jumped to Canon. Then there was a time where people jumped to Sony. The reason people jumped from Canon to Nikon was when the D3 came out, it was incredible compared to what the Canons had at the time. Canon didn't have a full-frame sports camera capable of shooting at that speed. They had an APS-H crop was 1.3x at the time. And so
I wonder if that'll ever come back, by the way.
What?
1.3, the APS-H sensors.
I don't know. But then people then switched back as Nikon languished with their next pro cameras, and Canon just really did a fantastic job. I stuck it out with Nikon until the end. I did, until mirrorless. I stuck it out. And but I don't think there's really anything that would make me switch unless they came out with a whole lineup of unique lenses that Canon wasn't going to ever have. You could say, yeah, 50 to 150 is super enticing. Absolutely is. But I got a 100 to 300 2.8. Like that is something that Canon, Sony doesn't have. And 85-1.2 is not something that Sony has. There's a whole cross section of lenses.
And not even just lenses, but I would personally say if it was a major leap in technology for a certain camera body that no other brand has that you need in your workflow, and for me, that would be something like the A9 III. That is that major revolution when it comes to technology in the mirrorless world. I mean, nobody else has a full frame global shutter and shoots at 120 frames per second. I mean, you're getting both the speed of the sensor and the speed and frame rate. So a lot of no other brand can touch that really right now. Now, yeah, you get a hit on quality, but that is something that I could see people switching for, is a camera system that doesn't exist in other camera brands.
Yeah, and I'm not switching anytime soon to anybody. I might use it as a clickbait title.
And I don't know moving forward what that next big leap in technology will be, because I know that the global shutter was always a big thing, and then the high frame rate was always a big thing. But now that they've caught up on both of those things, I mean, what else is there that can further technology in cameras?
Sigma BF.
Beautiful foolishness.
We'll take a step back.
My boyfriend camera, my best friend camera, my BFF.
Next question. Sean Sullivan, where did you buy your 4x5? I got it at a place called Retro Camera Reading. They are a store that specializes, they do printing, but they specialize in film cameras, old film cameras. There's no such thing as a new film camera, really. But these got like hundreds and hundreds of Leica film cameras and every accessory known to man, because he's been collecting the stuff for over 20 years. When it wasn't popular to build up on this collection, he was building up this collection so that now he's the guy in the industry, this guy Michael. So it's Retro Camera Reading in PA.
If I wanted to buy a 4x5 or that same 4x5, what's the cost roughly?
I mean, body only is like $300. If you can find a speed graphic, it's anywhere from $275 to like $400.
It's amazing how inexpensive film cameras are. Even these specialty cameras.
That's the body. Now you want to get into the lens. I'm buying another one for $1,200, $1,250.
It doesn't compare to like today's high end lenses that are $3-4 grand.
No, but that's like I bought one on eBay recently for $375. It's the next generation model, and I tested it, made sure it worked with their lens on it because I want to have it retrofitted to take my lens. And the difference is this one has 1/1000th of a shutter speed. It's more refined because it is the next generation beyond mine, which was produced from 48 to like 52, and this one is then starting to branch into the late 50s where the technology had changed, and I think the winding of the shutter is much quieter. I already sent it out, so I need to get it back when it's ready to go.
Imagine having this conversation back then. It's like, did you see the new camera? It's so much quieter. It winds. It's got a 1/1000th shutter speed. This changes everything. It's a game changer.
Yeah. Well, that was the camera store stuff. You'd get excited about what's changed and what's new. Every 10 years, you had a new Nikon. 10 years to get a new pro body.
And for the longest time during the DSLR era, I feel like it was more high ISO was always the big thing for me because I was always shooting concerts. So I was always like, well, where's the end game? You know, how far can they push it? And I remember, was it the D4 that came out when they were like, it's 1,000,000 ISO? Or was that D500?
I think it was the D500.
D500, yeah.
Which was not a full frame camera. I hated that camera.
It was
I know
like
people
your
loved it.
H2 expanded, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000,000 ISO. All right, moving on. Raul Veliz Jr.
Congratulations.
Question. I'm a good photographer and know how to capture good photos. People request sessions or want me to photograph them, but the moment I do photography for others, I lose interest or passion. I just want to do it as an art. Is it a waste if I am not interested in pursuing it for money? That sounds like a personal question. If you don't like shooting for other people, wouldn't you think that you wouldn't shoot for other people and you lose your passion? But then the rub is, if you don't have the money, like if you have all the money in the world, do whatever you want.
Yep.
But if you need to make money, sometimes you shoot the things you don't want to shoot to allow you to do the things you do want to shoot. So it is like, if you want to get paid, get paid. But if you don't want to work for people, then don't work for people. Anyway, Cindy Sackett, 63. First of all, you are the Yoda of photography. You fucked up, Cindy. I'm the Froda of photography. I have a general question. What are your recommendations for a small, compact camera to throw in my pocket for outings I can't take my regular camera to? I'm not thrilled with photos on my phone, so looking for something small for when I need it. Thank you so much. I'm still not a fan of anything. I really don't think there's very much.
If you want a true pocketable camera, that is tough because there's only so many cameras you can choose from that literally fit in your pocket.
Depends if she wears Janko jeans, Steven.
I mean, well, then you can just fit a giant DSLR from back in the day.
You can put a 400 2.8 in those pockets.
You don't even need to carry a bag.
I had to wear those jeans back in the day to fit my penis. Not true. Not true, because I never had Janko jeans in my life.
What do you think, camera-wise?
I think X100. You know, you're looking at, so
RX
it's always
100,
I'm thinking whatever the Sony is, the Canon, the Fuji X100 VI.
Oh, see, I don't think that's pocketable.
It's not. I don't even. There really isn't anything that you put in a pocket that you take. Maybe it's something you keep on your hip. That's like the X100 that Steven has.
You're stooping down to like point and shoots. So ZV-1 Mark II. RX100 Mark 6 or whatever they're on 7. The new Canon that's kind of big. I don't know if that fits in the pocket. The V1 that might be too big. But if you really want actually a pocketable camera, it's really those point and shoots. That's all you can get. The X100 Mark 6 for the Fuji is, I have it right here. It's definitely too big. I can't fit that in my pocket.
I always got these questions back in the day when people would go away on vacation. They're like, I don't want to carry around my good camera. I'm like, so you want to take around a shitty camera? Like you're going to forego quality to go to Alaska for the only time you're ever going to go to Alaska and take a shitty camera? I'm like, take the fucking camera with you. And now they're even smaller when you get an R8 or a Sony A7C II.
Yeah, but you need to put like a pancake lens or something like that on it. You're not getting away with an actual lens in your pocket.
I don't think there's pocketable cameras that I would recommend,
exactly.
To be honest with you.
Yeah. And at that point, I've told people, if you can't get a true interchangeable lens camera and you're just getting a point and shoot, you're probably better off just with using your phone for the most part. You're not going to see a noticeable change, really, especially if you're an amateur.
Yeah. Kevin Rothermund. Damn it, Fro, you asked for it. So in 2019, I started researching cameras, how to operate them, etc. I was going through videos and came to, this is one of those where it's a comment, came to an abrupt stop. I spotted someone with huge hair and an I Shoot Raw shirt. My first thought was, who is this pervert? My second thought was, I can't wait to watch this train wreck. I thought, so I must proceed. Little did I know I was going to be one of the best decisions I have ever made. Wow. Not only is it entertaining, I have learned more from Jared and Steven than anyone, even though I am a wildlife shooter only. I shoot raw from the beginning and learned not to be Captain Crop, just 2 examples. Lastly, my wife will see me watching Fro videos with my penis in my hand. Whoa. Come on, Kevin.
He didn't say that.
Oh, no, it doesn't say that here. Lastly, my wife will see me watching Fro videos from time to time and say, that guy's hot. I should have married him. Wait, it doesn't say that either.
Still didn't say that.
Watching Fro videos from time to time and ask, what the hell are you watching? Thanks, Jared and Steven. Second note. He's got a second note. When I first started, I sent a photo to a professional photographer to get some feedback. They wrote back and said they couldn't give me any feedback because my Instagram info was shut off. What? Shouldn't you be able to look at a photograph and tell them if it's good or shit photograph? I turned that info off to protect location of wildlife. Yeah, it's stupid.
All the metadata or just...
It sounds like they turned off a lot of the metadata, but I don't know.
I think at the end of the day, if it's a good photograph, it's a good photograph.
The only reason I request to see all the EXIF data when I'm doing critiques and doing mentorships is because people don't... if it's a bad photo, I need to know what they did in order to help them make it better.
Yep.
Peter Lyons, we got like a handful more. Peter Lyons, I'm a full-time working architectural photographer, and I'm on a full digital workflow, but all Jared's talk about 4x5 has made me very intrigued. Ooh. I'm curious about what it would be like to own a Subaru. No? Not funny, Steven?
Oh, I thought he actually said that.
No, I just add things sometimes to see if anybody's listening. I'm kind of curious about what happens after the capture. I've never dealt with serious film scans or what happens after. Also, if shooting on film, why not finish in a darkroom? How does Lightroom compare to the literal darkroom?
It's light, not dark. Heh.
That's racist, but really good question here. The 4x5, the process is, obviously you have to, in order to take a picture, I first have to load film in the darkroom or in a dark bag into film holders. In the film holders that I have, I get 2 shots, one on the front, one on the back. Each one has its own dark slide that protects it from light. All right, that's the first thing. You can't use a film camera if you don't actually load your film before you get out to where you need to go.
Do you load the film in a dark bag in a dark room?
No, I do my dark room upstairs in my dark room upstairs. So the only time I used a dark bag here at the studio was when I had negatives hanging and I didn't want to move around in the dark room. So I used my dark tent. A dark bag would be very difficult with 4x5 because it's flat and you have to keep lifting, and there's a process of loading this film. It's not easy. You have to get it right. The notches need to be on the right hand side. If you have clammy hands, you're going to have problems with loading film.
That's me.
That's why I could never ask you, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I can't take you on a shoot with me with the 4x5 to be loading film for me because my hands your arms get sweaty in a dark bag because there's no airflow because there can't be any light.
I had to change a lot of paper in dark bags back in the day, and I hated it.
Right. But when I do it in the dark room, I have freedom of movement, even though it's dark, so it's much easier to do. So anyway, the process, I have my film. I get out onto where I'm going to do the shoot. I have my light meter. I read that off the phone. It's called light meter. Someone asked me. It's literally just called light meter. It was like, it actually cost me $30 a year. Yeah, a year. It's
expensive.
A subscription,
Yeah.
but whatever. It works and it helps me. So it's $30 a year. Good on that app developer for making me a product that I want. So you wind the shutter a bunch, you take the picture. The process is you bring it back to the dark room. You have to process it in these tanks. I use tanks. It's called like Stroman or something, and they're $168 for a tank, and you can do 6 negatives at once in there. But the process for scanning is I have a flatbed V850 Epson. I think they're discontinuing it soon, but it's the last of a flatbed scanners. That's what I've been using and scanning at 2200 DPI, and I'm very happy with those results. There's other ways that you can do it where you can take a picture of the 4x5, where you have a copy stand and you use a high megapixel camera and it shines, has LED lights underneath. I don't know about that. My friend has that. She uses that. I need to look at her negatives to see how those files look. But you can also send it out to do a drum scan, which is a true 1-to-1 readout of all of the grain it's like the highest res you can get because it's a true 1-to-1 scan.
What is the digital resolution of that? When you say highest res, do you mean literally like the biggest, largest resolution you could get, or just in terms of like the quality?
I think it's the highest quality you can get from a scan is a drum scan, because it's literally going in there and reading pixel by pixel. I think it's like a 500 meg file or something.
You scan pretty high too currently, right? With your
I
4x5?
do scan pretty high, and I will tell you there is a sharpness difference with the drum scan. For some of them, the drum scan, you're like, oh shit, that is so much sharper and better in terms because it's just so much more finite than a scanner. But also, a lot of people use a digital camera to do copy negative of it, basically. Take a picture of the negative, which I would do and it's much quicker because you can literally put it in, take a picture, and it's done, where a scanner is going to take like 5 minutes per scan. Whatever. I've been very happy with the scans. The prints look fantastic. I'm happy with the results. Now, the difference between a dark room is no one's going to stand in a dark room now and print to print. It's just, you need a whole chemical setup to do all the prints. You need all the trays. You need an enlarger. The quality isn't going to be as good. It's just a digital scan at this point, printed out on an inkjet, is going to give you better tones, better quality, better longevity, just better everything in a much easier fashion. And working in Lightroom is much easier than dodging and burning in a dark room.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't want to get into too much detail there because that just gets super long-winded. Mm-hmm. Frank Lomas. When a company or client asks for a portfolio, what is the best way to do this? Send website or collection of images in a gallery on a website? Well, there's a couple of ways you could do it. I like to physically send a portfolio.
Insert Squarespace plug. What?
Oh, that is an option. Or you can send a Dropbox link to make it real easy so that they can download the photos and look at them themselves. That's one option.
The Dropbox link can be annoying though, because sometimes you have to like download it to your Dropbox, and it gets confusing for certain people. I've noticed when I've sent links, people are like, did I download it?
I don't have it.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, it can get confusing, except for it's not if you just click the damn link and open in browser. They're like, I need to share this. And like, you don't need to share it. Just open the link in a browser. Don't open it in the app. If you open it in a browser, it literally has all of the photos right there that you can download. So that's what I end up doing. But yeah, if they ask for a portfolio, you can send them prints physically, or you can send them a link to a website. Hey, hi, I put together this portfolio on the site. Here it is. Boom. That's what you do if that's what they request. It's not that hard.
I'll just send them my website link.
Yeah, how's that working out? Jonathan Sibian. Hey, I was wondering, would you and Steven touch briefly on your conversation with Canon people from the Hawaii trip? I liked what Anthony G shared in his video and value the thoughts you may have given to Canon. Well, first off, Steven wasn't there.
Nope.
At this dinner. I don't know what Anthony G shared. He was at the dinner. So what happens at these events, Canon has engineers in from Japan. They have engineers from Japan there, and you have dinner. You could meet with them. They basically are trying to use us for information.
Yeah.
What would we like to see in future products? What aren't we happy with? And we sit there and we tell them. And so what was interesting is a friend of mine who shoots Canon was in Hawaii, and I invited him over to the dinner, which he was going to pay for his own. Canon didn't pay for it. And he was sitting at the table, and he was in awe that I'm sharing, like talking. He's sitting with the guy who developed the R1, who I then yelled at for a minute. And then, right? He's like, this is incredible. Being able to share this information with these engineers, then they take it back. It was awesome. So yeah, many people probably don't know who Anthony G is. He has a pretty good following on Instagram. I forget his last name. But I'm sitting there and I'm just telling them everything I want to see. Lenses I want to see. I was like, you guys should consider a 50 to 150 f2 because they didn't know, but I already had a conversation with Sony about that lens. I was like, are you guys possibly working on a 50 to 150? That would be very unique. They don't tell us what's coming, but they do take our feedback. And when Anthony or Irina Rudnick would say something that they thought they should work on, I would interrupt them and say, nope, because they were just saying stuff that's like, no one cares. You guys are giving stupid information. Anyway, it's giving feedback to the engineers, and a lot has to do with usability and things we would like to see in a product. Steven's been there for those conversations in the past, and it's just really cool that we do. And then it takes like 5 years, and then we see implementation of that stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say it takes absolutely forever, and you're like, oh wait, I remember we had that conversation 7 years ago on this one particular trip. And also, it's not just Canon that does this. We've been to Nikon and Sony press events where those engineers have been on site too, or Nikon has come down from New York with an engineer and introduced the camera to us, and we got to give direct feedback to them that they then bring back to Japan. And usually the engineers are here in the US on like a 5-year cycle, right? Something like that.
Yeah, they're here long term.
And then they swap out to another one, and then they come here and then relay all that information back to Japan, and then another one comes, and yeah.
Japan.
One
more question, Steven. Kostas Georgiadis. Kostas Georgiadis. When we run into you at Build, what's something we can say so you know we are true fans? I've done this before. In the past, we've done stuff, and I think it was like, if you know, you know. I forget what I said back in the day, and it was where someone had to say something to me, and they got like my video guide for free, and I handed it to them when they were there.
Oh, that's
like
funny.
There was like a secret word.
When you had the physical DVDs.
Yeah, I also did one when we had Fro Nation where people would put their fist in the air when they saw me. It was put your fist in the air when you see me. I should do this or something when you see me, Steven.
What did you just do?
You're not looking?
Oh, Jesus.
So if you do, you're going to see me at Build. It's not like Photo Plus, which was bigger. I don't think Build's going to be nearly as big, but
it's at Javits, right?
It's at the Javits, but in a deeper section, which is much smaller than what.
It's not the
Photo
entire
Plus.
Javits Center.
No, it's much different. We walk into a different area. It was like last year I was like, where is this? And they had to get directions, and it was like a last minute thing. What is something you can say to me when we run into me at Build that I know, so I know you're a listener? What can I say? What are we thinking, Steven? You got anything?
Why are your arms so small?
Fuck you. No, usually I thought you were taller.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to be taller than this.
I thought your muscles were way bigger.
No. Yeah, it should be Subaru Impreza.
Whatever they say, you're not going to remember anyway because it's a month out. You're going to be like, what? What the hell are you talking about?
Come to me if you see me on June 17th or 18th and say, Subaru. Just say,
but you got to say it that way.
Subaru. Scissoring
and I'm
Subaru.
Probably going to be with you, and we're going to look at each other and be like, what the fuck? Who is this person?
Subaru scissoring. I want you to say Subaru scissoring. That's it. Now come up to me with your fingers and say Subaru scissoring and do the scissoring motion, rock, paper, scissors, the scissor thing.
You got to do that.
And then I will scissor you back with my scissors. So say, excuse me, would you like to scissor? That's what they should say.
Oh my
and then
God.
I'll know what you're saying, and then I'll scissor you with my scissor fingers. So it's either Subaru scissor me or would you like to scissor? And then do that. That's how we know. I forgot to say, Allen's-a-Palooza is not Allen's-a-Palooza. I should have said this earlier. May 14th, so in 2 days from when this goes live. No, 1 day. Oh, no. May 17th, because 14th is yesterday already. This Saturday.
Yeah.
On Saturday, the 17th at Allen's from 10 to 4. It's 4401 New Falls Road in Levittown, PA. 215-547-2841. I remembered the number, Steven. Fuck yeah.
Oh.
I used to answer the phones. I was the guy who answered the phones really well. Do you know how I used to answer the phone there?
Subaru driver speaking. Hi. How may I help you?
No. Because you know how people answer phones like they can't be bothered and they're like angry that the phone rang?
Yes. What do you want? It's like, am I calling the right place?
Yeah, they'd be like, hello? They'd be like, wait.
No.
Wait,
it's how Dan answers the phone. Hello?
Hello?
I'm like, Dan, I'm calling you during work hours. Why are you answering it like I'm bothering you?
So I used to be like, thank you for calling Allen's Camera. This is Jared speaking. How may I help you? Or something.
Fro knows photo.
No.
Screaming out.
But it was just something that made it seem like you didn't give a shit. Like I didn't not give a shit.
Of course. Yeah.
Right. You know, so I always did that. And Alan looked at me weird all the time about it, but I just kept doing it anyway.
Alan's like, Alan's Camera, yes.
No, Alan would be like, hello. What? I was like, will you answer the phone? It was always, the phone would ring twice and he'd be like, who's going to get it? It was just like, and then he would get upset that he would go get the phone. I mean, it was just like, Alan, I'm with a customer.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like, and it was always the same thing. It was just Alan's way of letting you know that he's there. And he was always there.
I'm curious if a lot of people still call in.
They still call the store.
Do they have a text line?
No. No. But anyway, you can go to Alan's Camera 8 to 4 p.m. They will be doing sensor cleanings for free. But first come, first serve on that. If you're not there within the first 30 minutes of it starting, you probably might not get a sensor cleaning. I don't know how many they do in a day, but I mean, if they did 50 or 100 in a day, you might have to get there early if you want a free sensor cleaning.
Dude, you need sensor cleaning. Your camera bodies are always so dirty.
That's because I'm a user.
It's because your bags are dirty.
But I never put my lens down upside down. I never put the mount down in my bag.
Yeah, I don't know, but your bodies are always so dirty.
Yeah, just from using it.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up this 151, which was fun with Q&As and stuff. I'll throw these in from time to time. It's just I haven't done it in a while. I just haven't even thought about it. I guess I should interact a little more.
Yeah, we never do these. I actually really like listening to podcasts. Some of my favorite podcasts when they do Q&As because you get to learn a lot of personal stuff too about the people, even though we didn't do much here. But it's always interesting, I think. Something different.
I don't know how personal we can get, Steven.
I mean, you're already very personal, so
yeah,
everybody already knows your life in and out.
All right, I am going to finish printing out my 16 by 20 book. I want to organize over here at the studio because it's just been like a bomb went off since I've been out shooting a lot.
It's bad. Yeah.
Yeah, in my area. I also have to then prep all the book stuff because the books will show up at some point.
Luckily, they did not show up while we were doing this podcast.
That's what you think. Let me check the cameras. Yep, they're sitting out 11 pallets out front of my house. No, I'm just kidding.
They really couldn't drop off 11 pallets. I mean, they'd have to dump it in the street.
There's nowhere you couldn't put 11 pallets against my building. It would be further that like it just couldn't.
Yeah.
So basically, they're going to come off the truck. I'll roll them right into my warehouse and call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hand the guy $100
and then book 3.
I don't want to do a book ever again, Steven. Because I'm not even done this process, and it's an annoyance. It is a lot of work to do.
The thing is, we've been done since November, right?
It's been done since it's been a while. And I did a lot of the busy work, but it's the physical work of actually shipping.
Yeah, it's just that process has been forever.
Oh, and paying for the books finally.
Sure,
that's a big nut.
Yeah,
that's a big nut. All right, I'm gonna wrap the show up, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Jared Polin from photo.com. See ya.
Bye.